Welcome along to this week's episode of They've Been Doing It All Day, Sir. The Lions are purring gently along in Australia and the Tigers roared against the Roosters. Let's get stuck in.
How's your week been, mate?
Do you know, it's been good. A lot of sport over the weekend, a lot of stuff to watch. We had cricket, union, league, full jam-packed fixture list of things going on. It was my birthday weekend as well. So had a few celebratory breakfasts, couple of takeaways as well over the weekend. So the diet has well and truly gone out the window. Had a few beers. So
that's good.
What about yourself? How's your weekend been?
Yeah, pretty much the same, to be honest, wasn't it? Just full of sport, full of activities with which involved a couple of drinks. But no, other than that, pretty chilled. So yeah.
Yeah, and we kicked it off on Saturday. We had the Lions against the Tahs at the Allianz. Took it a bit easier this weekend though, didn't we?
Yeah. Didn't want to. I think the diving in a bit early. I think the highlight of the game was me having my fish and chips, if I'm being perfectly honest.
You know what? The size of the portion was pretty good.
I was quite happy when I first got up there and was like, oh, $20. I was like, don't know how I feel about this. But then when they actually presented me this mammoth box, I was like, all right, okay. Yeah,
I agree. Decent portion. One thing that I was a bit surprised about on Saturday, I know it's what do they call it? A tour game, not a warm-up. They call it a tour game. But I was a bit surprised about the lack of atmosphere in the city, considering it was a game based in the city, whereas when the test match happens, it's out at Homebush.
Yeah.
So there was the old Scottish mate playing the bagpipes.
That was quite cool.
On top of that pub that's on the corner of opposite Central. As we made our way up to Molly Malone's to sample a few of their Guinnesses, but
watched a very good game with France, New Zealand.
That was a tight one, and looking back at it, there was like some questionable decisions from the referees, and I think actually in the Australia-Fiji one, we'll talk about it maybe in a bit, but a very questionable decision in that one around Fiji not being awarded a try. But let's get into the Lions against the Tahs. Lions walk away 21-10 victors.
Yeah.
Very underwhelming.
It was a very, very bad game of rugby. Just the normality of running away with it in the second half just didn't happen.
No.
The scrums were poor, I think is a big highlight of it. It was just a difficult watch. I've watched some grassroots rugby and I think I've been more entertained there than I was on Saturday.
There was a lot of mistakes as well. There was a lot of like trying to force things, like trying to bullet passes in, people not being there, trying to move the ball quickly. And it seems like the attack hasn't fully embedded into because there's a lot of chat around trying to instill the Irish methods to the attack. And for a team that's only been together, 3 weeks? It's going to be tough to do. But it's a worrying sign.
It's not, because look what they did against the Reds and Western Force. This is a completely different team that played that game. You got Alex Mitchell, who had a great game, to be fair to him.
Yeah, he did.
Finn Smith, who was trying to orchestrate something, and they're not going to be probably in the test team. So we'll talk about it in a minute. But when we head down to Canberra on Wednesday, it's going to be a completely different team again. So it's understandable that it's not gelling as quickly, but they'll have a week from Saturday to get that first test 15 working together, and then hopefully gelling by game one in Brisbane.
Yeah, I agree. And interesting comments by Andy Farrell after the game. I don't know whether you saw them, but he blamed them. The pitch wasn't as wet as it was wet when they were playing, but it wasn't as wet when they walked out the day before or something like that, and said it was sticky. Sound like just an excuse to me.
Just buy some stickum. Like, you see the NRL players spray their hands and arms with stickum before kickoff. Like, I don't know whether that would actually slow down union, because sometimes you do need to have an absolute whip on a pass, and it sticking to you may be a bit of an issue. But come on, they're professional athletes.
It didn't make any difference to the game. I thought the Lions were poor.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of shock amongst the Lion supporters at how bad it was. Let's hope that doesn't seep into the kind of like, I don't want to discredit the players that are out there, but more the test players that will be kind of hopefully focused on playing this Wednesday. But one big change that's happened since we last recorded was that the big man himself, Owen Farrell, has been called up.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts and opinions on that?
I think he's a great mindset to have around the camp. I think that's out of all the other players that are possibly able to be selected, he comes in as a utility for 10-12, which allows Marcus Smith a bit more release to then look after that 15 jersey after losing Daly. But I think he's been selected and brought over more because of the mindset and what he would be like around a camp.
Yeah.
And not necessarily like, I don't agree with what they were saying that he's been out here previously, he knows how to win one. He was a child when he was virtually last out here.
Yeah.
So it was the leaders around him that did that. Whereas now, because of the teams he has been in, I reckon he would be a big face in helping this team win.
I agree. He hasn't played for a fair few weeks because of concussion. Just re-signed back with Saracens as well. If he's not named in the squad on Wednesday against the Brumbies, but I think he'll play against the Australia-New Zealand invitational team on Saturday. If he sticks a performance in there, I think he's within a shout of should anything happen to Finn Russell. I think he's might be the next name on the team sheet, but he'll want to push for a test spot in maybe test 2 or test 3. There's only one game in between them though, and it's against the Maori and Pacifica. Maori and Indigenous invitational.
That's going to be a tough game.
I don't think we'll find anything out from it though. It's
that's just going to be rufulous aggression and physicality.
So it'll be interesting to see who's starting in that. But going down to the Brumbies we're filming this on Monday because we're going down on the Wednesday, so not the usual schedule, but lost to them in 2013 in a real tight one. So there's a bit of a flag up on this one.
Yeah, 100%. And this could be one of the tour losses. I think it'll come with this or the one on Saturday if there is going to be a loss within the warm-up games. So I think it's going to be a tough test for them. And I think with the weather, actually, how cold it's going to be, how cold will it actually be?
I don't even want to think about it.
Let's quickly get in the search, because for people watching in the UK don't believe it gets cold, it does. And on Wednesday it's going to be highs of 10, and when we're at the game it's going to be 7 degrees, 6 degrees.
It's going to be cold. I'm not looking forward to it. Definitely going to wrap up for this one. The other ones kind of been in shorts and a jumper, but
that's been a bold.
I won't be doing that for this one. I believe this is going to be the bar a few changes. Maybe looking at the front closest row in particular, but I think this could be the closest to the test team that we're going to see. I think the pack there's a few names in there. Like I love Tom Curry, but it's him and Morgan that are kind of fighting it out for that spot. So this is a bit of an audition for Curry on Wednesday.
Honestly, I think Morgan's tipping him.
He had a good game on Saturday. To be fair to him,
especially with his game on Wednesday as well. It was pretty.
He came off the bench on Saturday, if I'm correct. I hope I'm correct in saying that. But I mean, look, it's a tour game against the Tahs, not the greatest of experiences. Good to be able to go along to the Allianz, though, full. It was near enough full capacity. Biggest letdown though was you went to the bar 20 minutes into the game.
Oh, it took forever.
It didn't come back till nearly half time.
Took forever. Everything was so slow. And normally in the grounds around here, especially the newer ones, you go after 10, 15 minutes of kickoff. Up, service, back out. Not in the Allianz.
I'd be intrigued to know, and I was thinking about this earlier, I'd be intrigued to know if the Allianz has actually had a full capacity or near full capacity. They would have done for one of the concerts, surely. Yeah. But the stadiums out here, so for people that haven't been to Australia and experienced Australian stadiums, they're all very much, they're bowls. So there's only one level to them. I'm not talking about the bigger stadiums, but usually the 40 to 45,000 capacity stadiums and smaller. They have that one level where it's only one concourse where bars are around. And when there's a flood of people coming and going at different times, like there was during this game, it's not like there was a halftime rush or standard rush to go and get drinks at half time. It was more constant throughout. It was just there was a steady flow of people going through the bars. But at the bigger stadiums like the Allianz and MCG, the Accor and MCG, there's multiple concourses, different levels. So fingers crossed, touch wood, it'll be better for that one. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. We're taking the three-hour drive down to Canberra and back on Wednesday. Get the old chimney firing up, wobbling all the way down there, and hopefully make it there and back in one piece. But another big fixture that's happening on Wednesday.
Massive.
And we are missing it. It kicks off at pretty much exactly the same time as the Lions game, but it's State of Origin Game 3. New South Wales are favourites at $1.43 against Queensland at $2.83. What's your thoughts and opinions around how this one's going to go?
It needs to go. Like, if I know it's all about ifs, buts, and maybes, but with New South Wales, how they ended at that Game 3, if they play like that, this could be
Game 2 or Game 3 last year.
No, sorry. Well, no, Game 2.
Yeah.
If they, the only issue I've got now is this: it's because it's now 1-1. It could be a cagey first half.
Yeah.
And it could be very similar to Game 3 last year. Whereas you don't want that from Origin. You want the expansive play, and this New South Wales attack shows that they get rolling. They've got some absolute set pieces that can rip open everyone.
Yeah.
Cam Munster as well. I think he's going to be massive in this game. He's recently lost his father, which is quite a big loss for him, and I think that's only going to fire him up.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing.
He's going to be instrumental in this game.
It's the sort of thing that you're like, devastating news, and absolutely gutted for him and feel for him. But as a New South Welshman, you think if they needed a spark, like something to go, right, who we're doing it for, what we're playing for, not only the state,
but at a different level.
Yeah, obviously they got a few changes. The old Queenslanders got a few changes. They got the Hammer coming in at fullback. They got Shibasaki and Toya in its centres, and I believe that could be where the game is won and lost.
Okay.
The tackle up against the contest up against Latrell Mitchell and Stephen Crichton. You've got the experience of those two against the fairly rookie combination of Shibasaki and Toya. Toya has played 2 games before, but Shibasaki straight in first. But his story is incredible where he's come from. I don't want it to be a tight one. I don't want it to be.
I want it to be. Well, we're not going to watch it, so it's.
Could we watch it on the way back? Like you just holding the.
But also you got to look at their forwards as well. They've brought in Josh Papali'i.
Experience, one last dance. It's another bit of motivation as well.
And he's a big body as well. Like, he's a big addition to this Origin side. So you know what? I think it's a little more even than it suggests in the odds. But I'm going for a New South Wales win.
Yeah, I think the line's like 7.5 or something like that, which is about right, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I want to see New South Wales play in the first half like they did in the second half last game, and if they do that, it should be game over by half time. But it's Origin, it's Game 3, it's in Sydney. Hopefully, a bit of home field advantage. But the 2 times that we've been to,
no, it's not enough.
It's not really in a home field advantage. It doesn't feel like because you're so far away from the pitch.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like there's any kind of momentum to get behind them. Mind you, saying that, Suoli did get sent off after 7 minutes in last year's one. So we will see. But yeah, as we're going down, as we're watching the Lions, we'll be keeping a keen eye out on that one, and we'll reflect on it next week. But on to round 18, only a short few fixtures this weekend, but it kicked off with the Bulldogs racing out to a 18-point lead actually against the Broncos and ended up losing 22-0. 22-18, not 22-0, 22-18. What are your thoughts on it?
16 at half time. To be fair, this is the second time in 3 weeks Broncos have gone in with a big deficit at half time. They did it against the Sharks, and they've just come out and looked like the only team going to win the game. I've got to give it to them. I very much thought in my prediction that because they've lost the likes of Walsh, that their attack wasn't going to be as fluid.
Yeah.
But I was wrong. But that second half by them was an incredible watch.
Ezra Mam had a good game. He performed pretty well. I fear for the Dogs, though, that the signing of Lockie Galvin has somewhat upset the apple cart in the fact that Reid Marnie, yeah, you can talk about being professional and playing, but he's off. He might be off, or he is off. Oh, he is off. He signed with the Cowboys, hasn't he? That happened over the weekend. You got Sexton at the young age of, how young is he? 24, something like that, disappearing off to the Catalan Dragons. It feels like, I don't know, something isn't going right behind the scenes. And although are like professional until the end of the season and stuff like that, there's clearly some things that have been said that is forcing it off. And are they going to finish in the top 4? Highly likely. But does it impact them in the long run? Can they be favourites for the title? I'm not too sure now. But very interesting one.
We'll see. And do you know what? It's probably the right period to go through a lull. Because as you say, you're going in through your thirds. They're going through this second third of the season, coming into the start of the final third of the season, and they're at a bit of a lull. Whereas if they can get on a 4 or 5 game bounce before the playoffs, you're a different animal. And the question for the likes of the Broncos and the Panthers is they've had this massive force of acceleration in the middle part of the season. It's if they can keep it maintained until the back end. So there's a lot of dynamics at work at the moment, which it'll be interesting to see how they finish the season.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I suppose you raise a good point. Like this signing of Galvin, they've got enough time to figure it out before the full business end of the season. But another team that are just keep on chalking up wins, the Raiders 28 defeat the Dragons 24, and KO Weeks had an absolute week.
So and this is the thing that's nice little pun there. This is the thing that's really annoying me about Manly fans as well, and we've discussed it last week. And I saw it with the Fainu brother. Is it Fainu? Fainu brothers. There's a reason why these players get let go.
We had this conversation on the bus on the way home, didn't we, on Saturday night?
There's a reason why they get let go.
Yeah.
And just because they go away and then perform incredibly well at another club doesn't guarantee that they would have done that at Manly.
Yep, I agree.
And you've seen this as the examples they use within football, like Kevin De Bruyne at Chelsea. He was not the player he was when he joined Man City after Wolfsburg. Mo Salah was not the player when he was at Chelsea. And you can then look, what is there issues internally with the club of you're not unlocking the potential, but you never know. A change of scenery, a change of different manager, a change of mindset within the player could then possibly elevate them to the next level.
Yep.
So I think it's fantastic of where he was, but when we watched him at Manly, he was nowhere near this player. And I think if he had stayed at Manly, I don't think he would be where he is now.
No, I don't think he would have either. And he wouldn't have been playing at fullback. All right, Turbo's been injured, so he might have got the odd chance, but I still think Kohler would have been ahead of him at fullback, so he wouldn't have got reps there. But you don't often see kick returns in the NRL, and he did one at the weekend, which was pretty fantastic. Followed the ref, juked him out of his boots, and then went around the outside of him. But what a week for him. The only worry I have for the Raiders is they let teams back into the game.
It's the fatigue. And I think this is... We touched on it last week, and it's happening in the second half and sort of the back end of the second half. You look at the teams around them, they've had one bye, I think, and everyone else has had 3 or 2 or 3 byes. It's tough. Like they've had one break while everyone else has had 3.
Yeah.
And they had that recovery. So, and you say it was a forced bye at the start of the season, but that's irrelevant.
Ages away, yeah.
That's irrelevant. So, you know what? I think this bye has come at the right time for the Raiders. They will be rested. They can, again, review things and work into that. And then they'll have another bye quite soon after.
Yeah.
So I reckon going into the back end of the season, we'll stop seeing this second half meltdown, and we'll start seeing that Raiders that have been so dominant throughout games start to rear its ugly head again. And
I look at the fixtures they've got after the bye and before their next bye, so the next 4 fixtures, they've got the Eels, Knights, Dragons and Sea Eagles. So that's a healthy run of fixtures that they can put performances on for 80 minutes. And then after the bye, they've got the Panthers. Will that be a grand final preview. Tigers and Dolphins. So they've got a fairly comfortable run in. For me, they just, after this bye, need to start putting in 80-minute performances.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
But considering they were $67 to win the Premiership before the season started, can't really go wrong with them. At the moment, I think they're going to win the minor Premiership.
Yeah.
But a team that has been up and down and inconsistent, and another shaky performance away from home. The Melbourne Storm beat the Queensland Cowboys 26-20. They have won 5 in a row, though, so they're putting some form together. Didn't get to see much of this game, though, because this was on the Saturday night when we were making our way into the city. You managed to catch any of it, see any of the highlights?
Seen parts of it, and it's toe for toe within that first half. It was just it was score for score, and it took. I think it was just the Storm's relentlessness, and I think to go with like sort of the system that's Bellamy's installed in them, that they played for the full 80.
Yeah.
In that sense, and we were able to get that final score towards the end. Within sort of 15 to go.
That kind of killed it a bit as well.
Yeah, but there's got to be a period of time where they're going to have to. They're not going to get away with it.
Yeah,
and I'm not worried, but if you're Craig Bellamy looking at this, you just don't want that to be in the final playoffs.
Yeah,
is when all their luck does run out, and then they end up getting knocked out in the first round. And I still think they're going to struggle for the 4. Especially with the momentum that the Broncos and the Panthers have got.
Yeah.
A couple of losses from the Storm, and they could drop out.
Well, it's not even that. If let's say realistically they make the top 4, let's say let's have a quick look at who they've got over the coming weeks. So
got Manly at flat track.
They got the Knights, they got Manly, they got the Roosters, they got the Eels. Then they got Broncos, Panthers, and Bulldogs, 3 games in a row. It's at this time of the season you start weighing up who you're likely to face in the finals. If they finish top 4, but in the bottom half of the top 4, they've got an away fixture. They don't perform well away from home, so they'll be playing one of the top 2 at home. Yeah. Lose that, they then have a home fixture against potentially like the Panthers or the Broncos. So there could be a chance that they're coming up against 2 teams in form, having to play them. They'll be at home, so they've got that advantage, but it's not guaranteed. Then if they win that, it's anyone's game. Who knows? But they're just so inconsistent away from home.
That's the issue.
They're playing the Knights up in Newcastle this weekend. It'll be interesting to see how they go there. I think they'll blow them away, but we'll get on to our tips later on. And then they play the Seagulls at home, and I think we're going to blow them away there. But maybe that's a bit too optimistic. But a game that completely took everyone by surprise. I feel there's only a handful of people out there that I think tipped the Tigers. Roosters 28, Tigers 30. And you mentioned them earlier, the Fainu brothers all scored. And I think I read a stat that it's the first time 3 brothers have scored in one game. All Manly products, but well, actually they weren't. I heard they came through the it might have been the Dragons or youth team, and then Manly got them on board. They played in their New South Wales Cup team, but then we let them go. But yeah, not many people saw this result coming.
I'm one of those people, and I think it was a case of the Roosters handed it to them as well. Like, don't get me wrong, the Tigers did incredibly well. Like, they were effective in attack. You don't put 30 points up on a team and not deserve to be where you are. It was just Roosters. This is the inconsistency that we were seeing at the start of the season, which has sort of crept in and took the game, essentially. And
their mistake for the Tigers' second try, I think it was just a fumble forward. Fainu picks it up. The number 7 picks it up and just sprints the length of the field and goes straight over. It's things like that from halfway. But I believe with these 2 points, because I didn't expect the Tigers to win this game, these 2 points pushes them away from a little bit further away from getting the wooden spoon. But a team that is right in that race is the Rabbitohs, who we'll touch on in a minute. But Yeah, I think the Roosters were fairly lucky. Like Daniel Tupou's leap for his try over in the corner was fantastic. And then you got Big Marky Mark, who wants... If you want someone to make a play, it seems like you give the ball to him. He, for the tried minute before half-time, just palms off someone, drives forward, scores, and he scored again late on as well. So another double for him. What a signing for the Roosters, one for the future.
Well, what a rookie season. Cause I know he signed last year, but his first full season, he's done incredible. He's an absolute utility of a player.
We've touched on two players actually that are probably within a shout for the most improved of the season. If Nwangani Tawase can be included in this, but he was, I suppose he's the most improved in league. But KO Weeks and him, I'd say, are potentially up there for two.
I think Weeks would as a genuine most improved.
Yeah.
You can't really have a most improved when it's your first season. It's more of a rookie of the year.
Yeah, true. I get what you're
saying. But no, that's absolutely massive, and especially coming from union, to then come into league and dominate like it has. Like you've had it the other way around, but coming from union, you don't normally see this much domination. Yeah, and he's been absolutely killing it.
He has. So hopefully we might have too early predictions for some awards there. You never know. But on to the final game of the weekend.
Yep.
The back-to-back. Manly Warringah Seagulls beat the South Sydney Rabbitohs 30 points to 12.
Yep.
First back-to-back win since week 3 and 4 of the season. And because of the bye, we're going to have 8 points in 4 weeks.
How good.
But how'd you rate the performance?
I would say it was a Raiders-esque performance where Manly played for 60 minutes and then shut off defensively.
Oh, the queue was in the rack for the last 20 minutes.
It's worrying, but it's been like that all season. It's not the first time we've witnessed that, and I have to applaud the intensity and the kicks and the kick chase this week. At times it was relentless, and the Rabbitohs were struggling to get to their 40 from a kick, and it was the intensity throughout. Like even when in the first 5 minutes when the Rabbitohs were on top massively, it's that goal line defense, and that even though there was 6 against, it was that pressure, and it just didn't look like it was going to fold. Yeah. But then again, when the Rabbitohs started attacking late in the second, it was just so easy. It was back to the way Manly have been defending.
And interestingly, Saab went down injured, got taken off, Talau came on, and they both were ineffective over in that corner. Now, don't get me wrong, Saab put in a really good hit early on in the game, and I thought, all right, here we go. And then he seemed to just go back to old ways of crashing in. I don't know whether it's smart play from the Rabbitohs noticing that Hopewate was over the other side, or whether he didn't make it across in time, but it seems like we've mentioned it before, the defensive capabilities of Hopewate at fullback probably need to improve a little bit, but what he offers with everything else kind of outweighs that. Thought Turbo had a good game. It's nice to see him. The first couple of hit-ups, like he almost danced into contact again, but once he, I think, got a bit of confidence in himself and managed to break through a few tackles, it was like, oh, here we go.
He does need that confidence of I'm not made of glass, and even though with his injuries, like he just needs that confidence boost. And I thought Talau was a little bit better when Saab came on, to be fair, defensively. But you watch it from behind, and Turbo and Saab are on that side. I think DCE had filled in and was defending on that side, because he's normally on the... No, he's normally on that side, actually, because he has Olakwatu next to him. And I don't know whether Turbo doesn't trust DCE's defensiveness and tackling ability, because he seems to stutter on who he needs to pick up. Instead of flowing and trusting that DCE's got the inside, he makes a decision to plant, which then delays him. And I think it was like the first or second try. If he'd have just flowed without stopping, he would have made the tackle. Yeah. And it would have stopped there. But because he hesitated and made sure that the ball got offloaded, instead of trusting DCE had it if he decided to cut up the middle, it delayed him getting out, and it was an easy pass down the side.
I must admit, I do prefer Turbo at centre defensively than Garrick. I think Garrick is so much better on the wing. And like Turbo's just a solid body at centre that like when he makes the right decision, you're not going to run through him.
No.
Whereas Garrick's got the odd like arm tackle in him. But my concern for Manly is not necessarily the performance or the fact that we've gone back to back and we're on a bit of a high, but it's who we've got over the next 4 games.
This is disgusting.
So we've got the Storm in Melbourne, we've got the Bulldogs away at the Allianz, we've got the Roosters at home, and we've got the Raiders away. So we're effectively playing, take the Roosters out of that. We're playing the top 4 over the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks with a bye actually. What do you reckon success is out of those 4 fixtures? Realistic success. I'm not talking saying, we're going to win all 4. We've got to win all 4. What do you reckon a good?
I reckon you have to go 2 and 2 to keep everything alive. I think anything over.
So the next question is, where do those 2 come from then?
You look at it and you've got to go Roosters.
Yep.
At home.
I agree with that one.
And if you catch the Bulldogs, just with their instability at the moment, maybe. I can't see us beating Raiders down at the Geo, and I can't see us beating the Storm at Storm. They've only had 1 defeat at home this season.
Yeah,
and I don't even think that was that. I think that was the Magic Round game.
Yeah,
because they were the home team. I don't think they've lost at Amy Park.
Yeah,
so I'd say it's those 2 in the middle. With
I
Bulldogs
agree.
And Roosters.
I reckon that's our best chance of getting 2 wins out of that. If I'm being honest with you, I think success is getting 1 victory out of those, because then I look at the 4 games after that. We've got the Tigers, Dolphins, Dragons and Warriors, which I think are 4 winnable fixtures if we perform well. And I think that's where we've got to get our momentum in if we're going to make the 8 to win those games.
That's fair.
So we'll see how it goes, but let's get on to round 19. More fixtures this weekend, but we're doing this on a Monday, so we're recording on Monday for the first time. We don't have team lists. It feels weird. We're going straight off of kind of
just form,
just vibes, just pure vibes,
just pure vibes,
and we're going the money odds as well. So the betting odds that we use are obviously are not correct as of team lists being revealed. People will be backing up for Origin. We don't know how that game's going to go, physicality. But let's kick it off. Friday night, 8 p.m, Shark Park. We got the Sharks $1.67 against the Dolphins, $2.22.
Sharks have been dreadful at home recently. I don't know who's going to be. I don't know whether Hammer's going to back up, but I'm going to go the Dolphins.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. I think the Dolphins will get this one done. It's going to be an interesting one to see whether Hammer does actually back up. Depends how it goes Wednesday. Sharks have been plummeting as of late. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins on that one as well.
And then we're up at the McDonald Jones Stadium on Saturday for the 3 o'clock kickoff. Knights at $4 against the Storm at $1.25.
I don't think it matters who backs up in this one. I can't see the Knights winning this, but I've said this many a time, and I said like the Roosters Tigers, I said it was going to be a cricket score, and look what happened. So I'm going to go with the Storm, and I believe for example, it depends how Xavier Coates goes with his hamstring. If he's playing after this, like there's a few mitigating circumstances, and it feels weird tipping without team sheets. But Storm they've surely got enough to get this done.
I'm going to go Knights.
You reckon Brad and Best going to have an absolute field day?
Do you know what? Talking about that, I wasn't far off with my Ruben Garrick prediction, was I? At 1 point.
Yeah, very, very true. 14 plus. I saw him ticking over, and I was like, if he had got one more of those conversions,
I'd look like a great prediction guy. Yeah. Even though there was a slight irony in my prediction.
I know, and Alex Johnson didn't score as well.
Johnson didn't score. I just think the Knights, even though where they are in the league, they are defensively sound. And one of the things that with these tight games that the Storm away have won is the other team have leaked points. Yeah. Whereas the one that they struggled against the Rabbitohs, where it went to Golden Point, they were kept to 14 points, was it? Yeah. At full time. And I think the Knights have that in them defensively. They've had a week off. They're going to come back. They'll have had no one at Origin because Pong is injured. Yeah. You know what? I think this could be the one.
Who knows?
I think this could be the one that's too many for the Storm.
Fair play. All right, fair enough. And then after that, at the 5:30 kickoff, we go down to Cogra Oval. We've got the Dragons, $2.55 against the Roosters, $1.52.
I'm going to go for Roosters on this one. I think they need to turn on from last week. If I'm being perfectly honest, cut the mistakes out, and I reckon they'll run away with it.
Yeah, I believe the Roosters will win this one as well. They're going to have their origin stars back. I mean, I'm pretty confident that even after the physicalness of Game 3 last year, Angus Crichton backed up, most of them backed up. So
they were fine.
I think they'll be fine, and the Roosters to win this one down at Cogra Oval.
Yeah, and the next is the final game on the Saturday. The Cowboys at 288 against the Bulldogs at 142.
There's always one fixture that stumps me every week, and it's this one. And the Cowboys didn't look like they've got problems at fullback. For some reason, they don't like contesting big kicks. And when you've got Matty Burton sticking up huge bombs, is that going to cause a problem for the Cowboys? Because they don't like attacking the kicks, and they've made a few mistakes when the ball's gone up. So I'm going to go with the Bulldogs on this one purely because I think they have to, have the ability to put pressure on them under the high ball. Who are you going with?
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Bulldogs as well. I think they need to stop this decline, and I think this needs to be the game that they go, right, lads, we're actually winning the comp, and this is why.
They're going to stick it on them.
Yeah.
Okay, and then over to New Zealand we go. We're at Go Media Stadium in Auckland. We've got the New Zealand Warriors, the Wars, $1.36 against the team that causes an upset, the West Tigers at $3.18.
Talking about teams that need to turn up and go, this is why we're in the top four. You've got to go Warriors for this one.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to go for the Warriors.
Even though they've lost Metcalf, this will be their first outing since that injury. I think they're too strong for the Tigers. So I'm also going to join you with getting the New Zealand Warriors for the win.
And then we're at the CommBank with the Parramatta Eels at 380 against the Panthers at 127.
Home game that's not a home game, that's an away game for the Panthers. Moses is still out, isn't he? Still injured. He'll still be injured for this one. Lomax will be back. Depends how many of the Panthers stars back up. This is, I think, to be honest, the point in which they are in the season, I think they'll all want to back up because they know that the Panthers are on a roll. And I feel that, the Panthers will win this one.
So this reverse fixture finished 18-10 to the Panthers at the same stadium. Wasn't it a away game?
And it was after Origin as well.
I was just double checking that, and I think it was.
Yeah, because I remember hearing that the same fixture is occurring twice after Origin.
So it was after game 1 on the 28th of May, they played on the 1st of June. Well. Same situation. But nah, what I've seen from the Panthers the last few weeks has been ridiculous. I think you'd be silly to bet against them at the moment, especially with the way the Eels performed against the Dragons. If they do that against the Panthers, it could be 50 before half-time. Yeah.
Then the final game on the Sunday, we're going to the Cbus Super Stadium where we got the Gold Coast Titans at $3.70 against the Brisbane Broncos at $1.29. Am I going crazy here, or is this another reverse of a fixture during Origin? Because it only felt like yesterday that we were talking about a Queensland derby.
There's been loads of Queensland derbies recently, though, but hasn't there?
There has, but where are you going with this one?
It's Broncos, man. I don't even think this one needs an explanation. Broncos are unreal at the moment. Titans aren't. This could be an absolute hammering.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you with the Broncos. And the upsetting thing for the Titans is the Rabbitohs are guaranteed 2 points this week because they're on the bye. So it puts a bit of distance between them and the wooden spoon. Titans have got to win it, but I can't see them doing it. I'm going Broncos all day, every day. And then we'll move on to the cricket. So very interesting developments over the last, 5 days? 5 days that has happened. So India absolutely walking away with the second test, winning by 336 runs. Interesting fact that got sent over to me, that England, for those maths nerds out there, England's median and mode score in their first innings was 0. So for people that aren't aware of what the median and mode are, if you line all the numbers up of the scores that England got, in the first innings. The median, which is the middle number, so the sixth number, was 0. And the mode, the one that most frequently occurs in those 11 numbers, was also 0 because we got 6 ducks. So, really interesting fact that came up, even though England scored 407 runs.
You've got to look at it as a bit of a failure across both bat and ball. You look at India, they scored, nearly over 1,000 runs in 2 innings, and England only managed 670.
Yeah.
So you've got to look at that and go, right, fundamentally our bowling was shit. And fundamentally our batting was shit. So
apart from Jamie Smith.
Jamie Smith was Mr. Consistent in that actually.
He scored 250 of the runs?
Yeah, which is over a third of the runs were scored by one batsman.
So our batting was shit.
I think you can't. There's no blame here other than that. You can't turn in. I saw Stokes came out and said it was more like a subcontinent pitch, but it wasn't because the batsmen were getting runs and the pacers were getting wickets. It all goes down to there's just no pace in the bowling attack, and unfortunately, this trial with Bashir as our number 1 spinner, like as a spinner in Test, you need to be able to hold down a end. You need to be able to bowl. Didn't he get
spanked all over the place? 280 runs.
You need to be able
to
bowl 20, 30 overs on the bounce and keep it down to 2, 3 and build that pressure, because that's how you get runs. Is if you've got one end where you're only getting 3 runs and over, and then you've got pace from the other end. You're like, shit. Where are we scoring runs? As much as I was extremely happy with how they performed in that first Test,
got away with one.
Yeah, they did, and we've always said that it's going to be England's bowling that lets us down. And you need some pace. You need a couple of bowlers in there who are. You need one that's bowling over 90 and one that flirts with 90 on a continuous basis.
Or looking at the changes that are potentially coming in. So Atkinson's been called up into the Test squad. So he can bowl at 90 plus. I think he averages like 89 or something like that. So what we're talking for the Aussies, 50 odd kilometres an hour, which would take that. Overton in his younger years could bowl up to 150 plus kilometres an hour, 90 odd mile an hour. But the man that is going to be the big question is Jofra Archer. Like, he's only bowled 18 first class overs in Tests in 4 years. So is he going to come in for the third Test? Apparently it is going to be a complete switch up. So
it needs to be. I think they've needed to assess their bowling attack for years. Like Broad and Anderson were able to get as many wickets. Even Anderson struggled in Australia, to be fair, but they were able to get wickets because they were just very skillful bowlers. Yeah, and there should have been a rotation of pace around them, because there hasn't been. Like you look at the great teams that England have had with that. That team that
they've all had Broad and Anderson in it.
Well, yeah, but with that 010 team, you had Tim Bresnan who could chuck the ball down.
Yeah,
you had Steve Finn, who was no mug with it as well. You had Graham Swan, who was arguably England's best produced spinner. And you had even Monty Panesar to back up Graham Swan with spin. Yeah. So you're looking at, you're getting wickets from everywhere, and you're not just relying on 2 people to get the majority of your wickets, and then just the others trickle. So in Bazball, we trust.
We do. Another interesting stat that comes out, and fact that comes out from this one: Shubman Gill, first person to score 250 plus and 150 plus in the same Test match. Captain's knock. Yeah. I mean, he scored more runs in 1 innings than 2 innings than England nearly.
No, he scored more runs in 1 inning, because I think he scored 280. Oh, sorry,
yeah, you're right. He did. It might have been 260, but either way, he scored more than England did in 1. So fair play to him. Interesting developments as well. Obviously, Australia beat West Indies. They've won the series 2-0, but low scoring
from the top order
affairs. Well, low scoring from the top order, but also low scoring Test matches.
I think that's more to do with the pitches as well. And the bowling attack. Like the West Indies bowling attack is no mug.
Exactly,
it's decent. They've got, again, pace. Like you look at it and it's pace. And one little thing I wanted to shout out just at the very end here: a friend of the pod.
I forgot about this.
Found out on the socials. Adam Higgs a friend of the pod,
mutual friend of ours,
scored a pick 6 for the Wembley Stallions the other week. So I saw a picture of it and said, I'll give him a little shout out.
Fair play. He's certainly got more grey hairs in the last few years compared to when I was playing alongside him. But a pick 6 is no mean feat, and playing at his age, I don't know how he's done it, but. One last little sport that we've forgotten about. Your little tipple, the old Formula One, the British Grand Prix.
Yeah. Again, a 1-2 for McLaren, Old Norris, Piastri. I haven't seen the incident, but Verstappen spun again on a safety lap.
Yeah.
I think Piastri slammed his brakes on or something.
He got a 10-second penalty for it.
It didn't really impact anything.
Yeah, I saw this.
Hulkenberg was about 30 seconds behind them.
Hulkenberg's first podium in 240
didn't know what to do.
Races or
didn't
something like
know
that.
What to do. Left his helmet. But you know,
and he won a Lego trophy as well, didn't he? It weren't even a silver trophy.
I've got to say again, it'd be interesting to see the incident, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Verstappen trying to be aggressive at behind the safety car again, and he's got caught out.
I did see this come up on my social media feed earlier. Actually, the penalty Verstappen couldn't see where Piastri was.
Yeah,
because of the spray, and Piastri tried to slow the grid down.
Yeah,
and slammed his anchors on. And apparently, it was too much pressure that he slowed down by him. Verstappen just went straight past him. That was the penalty. The incident where he spun, I didn't see because it doesn't really interest me. But I like keeping up to date with it. But
there we are.
What a week we've got ahead. Travelling down to Canberra on Wednesday. We're going to go see the Lions again against the Brumbies, and then we're having a weekend off. Have we got any sport next weekend that we're attending? No, and then the big one after that, Brisbane. But thank you for tuning in again for this week's episode, and we will catch you in the next one.
See you later.